Next, Mr. Miller. Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for conducting the hearing. And Mr. Miller, last week we heard from the IRS about plans to publish revisions to Form 637 very soon. And so 637, that's the application for registration dealing with excise taxes in particular. So, in reviewing this form, I'm looking at the form. I notice there's a lot of items that are listed that are subject to the excise tax. These are items like gas guzzler automobiles, sport fishing equipment, fishing tackle boxes, bows, quivers, broadheads, points, arrow shafts, and tires. Also alcohol, I think, tobacco and gasoline are subject to an excise tax. But, the public policy rationale in the past for excise taxes has historically been to deter certain activities. And as you know, the medical device tax, which is a part of the new health care law, is an excise tax. And that's, in my mind, the last thing we want to do is deter creation or innovation in these life-saving, life-improving drugs. But do you believe, as a matter of public policy, it's appropriate to apply an excise tax to medical devices in the similar category of these other items?
Congressman, I only administer it. I can't really speak to whether it's the appropriate policy in terms of use or not.
Do you think the line item we might see on Form 637 is going to also include, gas guzzling automobiles and life-saving medical devices? Is that, will there be a line item that'll identify for medical device companies in that manner?
So I don't know specifically. We're working hard. We have proposed regulations out on the medical device tax, and we're working with the industry to make sure that we try not to burden them and get them to know the rules and to comply going forward. I'm not sure on the form itself. I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. Now, according to the new law, the companies will have to begin paying this tax on January 1st, which is just a few months actually from now. And am I correct in my understanding that no final rule has been released by the IRS yet on this?
Right, but that's closer.
Okay. So without clarity of the rules, the companies, you said you're working with the industry, but I know they're expressing concern about having to comply with the new law, certainly. You say you are working with them, though?
We are.
Knowing that's coming up. Do you know, there are about 7,000 of these companies across the country, and they do a lot of medical devices. Could be diagnostic equipment. Many of these companies are not profitable. They're going to still be required, though, to pay the tax. This fact, though, does not take into account the administrative burdens of the tax that will come through the new IRS forms, for instance. Has the IRS done a Paperwork Reduction Act analysis to measure the administrative burdens of the device tax on companies?
I don't know the answer to that. I can get back to you on that, though.
Okay.
Sir.
That would be good to know. I'm just curious.
Now, again, if I could say one thing, the burden has been placed on, it's a statutory provision. And we didn't create this out of whole cloth, sir. So.
Okay. Well, I know that there's going to be additional paperwork, obviously, costs for companies to comply with the tax. It's also my understanding that the excise tax payments are traditionally collected semi-monthly or every 2 weeks. And I'm wondering, do you think that model would fit for many of these companies which have the experience essentially of making estimated income tax deposits on a quarterly basis, but they don't have any experience in the federal excise tax component? And I don't think they've got systems in place for calculations. Is there consideration being taken into account for that?
So I don't know the answer to that question either, sir. So again, we are working with them. The proposed regulations are out. The number of issues, Congressman, are not myriad. There are a few issues that remain unclear and that we're working with them on. But a lot of this has been put out and discussed.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I just raised some of these issues because I think we're clearly going in a precarious situation or dangerous situation for a lot of these companies that provide a lot of jobs. It's domestic manufacturing, and we've analyzed a little bit of what the effects of the tax would be. We've tried to stop it. We repealed it in the House and with a very strong bipartisan vote. But now that we're moving forward to January 1st, and these companies are laying off employees already, I want to make sure that we're also taking into account the paperwork connections, and the IRS is following up on the paperwork reduction analysis if possible as well. And I yield back.
I thank the gentleman.